October 28th marked the launch of Battlefield 6 Season 1, the moment we'd all been waiting for. Assuming waiting means rebooting the game every patch, coping through memes, and questioning why we didn't just go outside and develop healthy relationships instead. Season 1 is supposed to be the big turning point, the redemption arc, the part of the movie where the hero stops crying, wipes the blood off his face, and says, "One more round." Except in this version, the hero is a half-functioning EA server with abandonment issues. But after all that seasonal content arrives, EA is dropping an update, a name that sounds less like a patch and more like a Windows error code right before your PC dies. This is a huge update. Movement fixes, weapon accuracy, visibility improvements, UI and map adjustments. Basically everything that should have existed at launch, but didn't, because Battlefield apparently released in early access without telling us. So today, I'll walk you through what actually matters. Not the nerd math in the patch notes, not the 400-line changelog written by a dev who hasn't felt sunlight since February. I will decode the important stuff, translate it into English, and explain it like someone who has both brain damage and standards. You're welcome. Let's begin. Before the next update drops mid-sentence and makes this video instantly outdated. Season 1 is finally dropping, and yes, that sound you hear is the faint echo of Battlefield players crawling out of hiding like raccoons sniffing garbage at 3 a.m. New map, new weapons, new battle pass, new cosmetics designed to make you ask, who approved this outfit, and were they being held at gunpoint? The funny part is Battlefield players have been acting like we wouldn't come back. "I'm done with this game," we said. "I've moved on," we said. And yet, here we are, reinstalling it like the ex we swore we'd never text again, but still check their Instagram at 1:30 a.m. And if you're wondering how I got all this info early, I'll be honest, I am not a playtester. I am not a developer. I am not a chosen one. I simply have one EA account they forgot to ban, and I'm not giving it back until they pry it from my cold, Cheeto-dusted hands. Now, don't get too excited. Just because we're getting Season 1 doesn't mean the game suddenly becomes perfect. Come on, this is Battlefield, the franchise where fixing one thing summons 3 new bugs like a cursed ritual. If you patch suppression, the vehicles explode. If you patch vehicles, the skybox disappears. If you patch the skybox, the audio starts sounding like a microwave having a seizure. But for now, Update 1.1.1.0 is our new hope. The band-aid on the broken leg, the duct tape on the space shuttle, the emotional support animal for players who haven't known joy since Battlefield 4. Anyway, time to talk about what's actually changing. The devs are improving core movement, vaulting, landings, weird bouncing animations. That thing where your character spawns and immediately behaves like he's being electrocuted through the kneecaps. Supposedly, we're getting smoother animation transitions, which means you might actually be able to run toward a wall and climb it instead of flailing like a salmon trying to escape a trampoline. The devs are improving core movement, vaulting, landings, weird bouncing animations. That thing where your character spawns and immediately behaves like he's being electrocuted through the kneecaps. Supposedly, we're getting smoother animation transitions, which means you might actually be able to run toward a wall and climb it instead of flailing like a salmon trying to escape a trampoline. Before this patch, Battlefield movement felt like controlling a man built entirely out of gelatin, regret, and undercooked tendons. If you tried to hop over a ledge, the game didn't just fail, it mocked you. You'd hit spacebar and your character reacted like, "No, I don't want to. I'm tired. Let me die here." Now movement is supposedly cleaned up, polished, realistic, fluid, all the things they promised in the trailer but forgot to include in the actual game. Vaulting won't stutter, landing won't feel like your spine snaps in half. And maybe, just maybe, jumping won't trigger 4 seconds of camera shake like you just got hit by a truck. It's nice, it really is. But praising Battlefield for fixing movement in 2024 is like congratulating your father for finally acknowledging he has children. Good, yes, but also, what took so long? Anyway, guns. The weapon rework is one of the biggest changes in this update, and thank every higher power I'm not allowed to mention, because the gunplay before this felt like gambling with bullets. Every shot was a suggestion. You could line up a perfect headshot, pull the trigger, and Battlefield would respond with, "Nah, that bullet's going to the Philippines." The patch says dispersion is being updated, so guns now behave like their intended class. Snipers should hit at range. SMGs shouldn't moonlight as long-range rifles. LMGs shouldn't shoot like you're waving a fire hose while having an emotional breakdown. Before this, recoil wasn't recoil. It was a punishment. You weren't controlling a weapon. You were fighting a possessed jackhammer that hated you. Now, they claim accuracy will feel intentional. Guns will feel distinct. Bullet spread won't feel like RNG in a casino. I'll believe it when I survive a gunfight that isn't decided by which one of us prays harder. But the funniest part? You know Battlefield players are going to complain when guns finally start being accurate. Why did they fix the spread? I trained for 200 hours compensating for the broken version. This is ruining my muscle memory and my marriage. Anyway, you think the gunplay was bad? let's talk about lighting, the silent killer. This patch also claims to fix the lighting. And honestly, if this works, it might be the biggest quality of life upgrade in the entire game. Because right now, the lighting system is basically an abusive relationship. Indoors equals pitch black. Outdoors equals retina obliteration. You walk into a building and instantly lose all vision, like someone shoved a pillowcase over your head. You walk outside, and the sun personally attacks you with the power of 40 tactical flashbangs duct taped together. If this update actually fixes visibility, people might finally stop cranking brightness to 200 and playing the game like it's a medical eye exam. Anyway, lighting is great, but now we get into audio, also known as the part of the game that sounds like someone dropped a fork in the toilet and called it an explosion. This patch apparently fixes interior and exterior contrast, so environments won't be so violently opposite. You'll actually be able to see things, which is wild because that's a feature most games consider essential. I cannot stress this enough. The biggest threat in Battlefield 6 is not other players. It is lighting. I have died more times to shadows than to bullets. I've been shot by enemies I could not see, standing in corners so dark they legally counted as separate dimensions. The patch also updates audio, which is about time, because Battlefield 6 currently sounds like every explosion was recorded from inside a microwave while a man coughs into the microphone. The audio mix has been so inconsistent that half the time, you hear enemies across the map, and the other half, you die to someone breathing on your neck like a tax auditor. Now they're adding new projectile sounds, vehicle sounds, explosion mixes, and weapon audio passes, which is great because before this, half the guns sounded like you were firing a stapler into a wet sock. And don't get me started on the vehicles. Tanks sounded like vacuum cleaners, helicopters sounded like a dying lawnmower, and the hovercraft? That thing sounded like Satan's Roomba skidding across a kitchen floor. The devs claim this new audio pass will add clarity and depth, which is the polite professional way of saying, we finally stopped mixing explosions like someone slapping a tuna can with a wooden spoon. But here's the real Battlefield audio experience. You never hear the guy behind you, but you always hear some idiot 400 meters away breathing like he's running a marathon while eating drywall. If they fix that, game of the year, maybe decade, maybe century, maybe they should fix my family problems next. Anyway, let's move on to something that players think they care about but definitely don't read, the UI. This update also adds UI improvements, new unlock markers, visual consistency, better readability, which is great because the current UI has the visual clarity of a Craigslist ad written in crayon. The good news, you'll finally be able to tell which attachments you've unlocked instead of guessing like you're playing an RNG-based equipment lottery. The bad news, 90% of players will still equip the same meta weapon that some YouTuber told them to use, so none of this actually matters. But let's talk maps, because oh yes, they patched the maps too. Out-of-bounds issues, stuck vehicle spots, broken ladders, spawn bugs, invisible death zones. All the lovable Battlefield classics. These fixes sound promising, but this is Battlefield, so they will likely fix 40 problems and birth 12 new ones somewhere completely unrelated, like polar bears spawning in the desert, or buildings suddenly developing allergies to grenades. They also improved stability for Conquest, Breakthrough, and Rush, which is ironic since the most unstable part of those modes is the player base itself. This is where Battlefield always shines. You can fix a map, but you cannot fix the guy who spawns a transport chopper just to throw it into a mountain and leave the match. Anyway, now comes the part that really separates the casuals from the masochists, challenge reworks. Let's talk about challenge adjustments, because in this update, EA finally realized that some of the missions in Battlefield required the same level of skill, time, and mental instability as becoming a brain surgeon while blindfolded in a hurricane. Take the class assignment, Assault 1. Originally 30 kills using an adrenaline injector. That wasn't a mission, that was a cry for help. That was the devs asking, how desperate are you for cosmetics? Enough to throw your self-respect into a volcano. But now, they're lowering it from 30 kills to 3. 3, tre tree, numero tres. You could do that by accident while sneezing. I could get 3 kills with the adrenaline injector before breakfast, while crying, and on a laptop trackpad. Meanwhile, the engineer repair mission dropped from 6,000 repairs to 1,000. Good. Because 6,000 repairs is not a challenge, it's a lifestyle. It's a full-time job with benefits. That's not gameplay, that's unpaid automotive labor disguised as entertainment. But here's the problem. Now everything is getting too easy. Yes, the impossible ones should be fixed, but don't turn the game into a daycare. I want some challenges to be painful. I want missions that require skill, effort, and the kind of stubborn self-hatred that turns gamers into legends. In Battlefield 1, if you saw someone using the Peacekeeper pistol, you respected them instantly, because you knew they spent days solving Morse code puzzles like a sweaty Victorian detective. That was a flex. That meant something. Meanwhile, in this new system, you'll unlock guns just by showing up, breathing oxygen, and possibly clicking once. That's not achievement. That's participation trophy energy. So, yes, fix the impossible challenges, but leave some pain in the system. Suffering builds character, struggle builds prestige, and if Battlefield removes all the struggle, we'll all just turn into Apex players, and I don't want to live in that timeline. Anyway, time to ask the big question. Hosting those 100-player servers, the big servers, the ones that become popular, the ones that shape the player base, is locked behind the Pro Pass, meaning you can't own a big community server unless you pay. You can't build large-scale custom modes unless you pay. You can't run full event lobbies unless you pay. You can't become a community host unless you buy in. The devs didn't just sell XP, they sold social power. They turned the community from anyone can host a server into only paying users control the sandbox. And the more you think about that, the more it stops feeling like a cosmetic perk and starts feeling like a paywall over the culture of the game. Because if only one group can host big servers, then only one group shapes the experience for everyone else. That is not a skin bundle, that's community control with a price tag. And players didn't notice it, because they were distracted by the shiny cosmetics and tier skips. But the ones who did notice, they're already calling this the early stage of Battlefield Premium 2.0, except this time the monetization is slow, silent, and buried inside the Battle Pass instead of being sold separately. The most dangerous thing about the Battle Pass isn't that it costs money, it's that it costs time, or money, but not neither, because if you don't buy the Pro Pass, you now have to. Grind XP longer, complete more challenges, re-roll less often, unlock slower paths, earn fewer boosts, spend more hours doing the same progress a pro player does in half the time. The standard pass technically gives the same content, but with twice the labor attached to it, which is why this isn't just monetization. It's time pressure. Games used to be about play when you want. Now they're about play before the rewards expire or fall behind everyone else. The Battle Pass creates 3 types of player. Pro Pass buyer, fast progression, low grind, always ahead. Standard Pass grinder, has to treat the game like a second job. No Pass player, watches everyone else unlock things they'll never touch. That's not optional, that's a hierarchy. And every Battle Pass season resets that hierarchy and rebuilds it again from zero, over and over, permanently, endlessly. The treadmill never ends, it just changes outfits. Which brings us to the final question. Is this still Battlefield? Or a live service reward simulator wearing a Kevlar vest? Because this Battle Pass isn't just a new unlock screen, it's the blueprint for the next several years of Battlefield design. A version of Battlefield where XP is a resource you're rewarded or punished with. Cosmetics are used as psychological bait. Progression is a sales mechanism instead of a reward. Time investment becomes the real price of the game. Features once given for free are now perks inside paid tiers. The game slowly stops being a Battlefield and starts being a marketplace built around Battlefield theming. So the final question isn't, should you buy the Battle Pass? It's, are you okay with this being the new normal? Because this update doesn't just change unlocks, it changes identity. It turns Battlefield from a sandbox of chaos, randomness, and emergent gameplay into a controlled progression pipeline with gun physics. The game is still fun, the explosions still explode, the tanks still flip sideways for no reason like they're auditioning for Fast and Furious 12. But the progression system, that's where the war is now. Not on the map, in the menu. So, yeah, that's the Battle Pass. Not just skins, not just cosmetics, not just more content. It's a time economy, a player funnel, a test to see how far EA can push progression monetization before people notice. If you're excited, cool. If you're angry, also valid. If you're confused, that just means you read the patch notes. Here's the truth. This update looks good. Really good. Shockingly good. Suspiciously good. The kind of good where you start wondering who got fired to make this suddenly possible. And yes, this isn't the final overhaul. More improvements are coming in later updates. So, no, the game won't be perfect overnight because that would violate Battlefield tradition. Battlefield only improves in stages, like therapy, except instead of emotional progress, it's just fewer crashes and slightly less broken lighting. So, what does this all mean? It means we're finally entering the era where Battlefield might become what it was supposed to be, instead of a social experiment built to test the patience of people who haven't known joy since 2018. Will there still be bugs? Yes. Will vehicles still sometimes explode for no reason? Yes. Will voice chat still sound like players are calling from inside a McDonald's freezer? Absolutely. But if this update does what it promises, Battlefield 6 might finally cross the line from clown circus with guns to functional FPS with trauma. And honestly, that's enough for me.